Hey guys, I am Game Advisor, and today we'll be covering some of the best games coming out this April. Some of these will be survival games, and some of these will be more strategy games with a few different things mixed in between. So with that being said, let's jump into it. Now the first two games I'm going to talk about are actually going to be coming out at the end of March, and I'm talking about them because they seem like very promising games and they're so close to April that I didn't want you to miss out on them. First up is Smalland, which is coming out on March 29th. In Smalland, you will venture out into the wilderness of the world as a creature smaller than the size of an ant. In order to help you traverse that world, you'll be able to tame mounts like crickets, lizards, and dragonflies, as well as glide around the map with your wings. To progress, you'll need to create yourself a base of operations, as well as make sure you have powerful weapon and armor sets, which are crafted out of the many dangerous creatures around the world. And if all that wasn't enough, you'll be able to play this game with up to 9 friends, which is pretty insane for a survival game. Next is Ravenbound, which will be releasing on March 30th. This is a single-player roguelike game with a sort of Souls-like style of combat from what we've seen so far. You'll take on the role of something called a vessel and grow in power each time you play through the game. This means that there is a permadeath mechanic and you will lose most of your progression whenever you end a run. However, your power and skills will carry over to the following run, allowing you to have a little bit easier time going through it until eventually you're able to beat the game. Now, what is arguably the most important thing about this game is the fact that it is an open world game and a roguelite all in one. This means you'll be able to explore the world in whatever order you want to, even if some areas might be more difficult than others. It also takes inspiration from Scandinavian folklore, which is something that seems to be getting really popular right now in the gaming industry. After that is Ravenswatch, which is an ARPG coming out April 6th. This game has a lot of roguelike elements built into it, where you play as a twisted version of a fairy tale creature, like Red Riding Hood for an example. The game is currently co-op with up to 4 players, and it takes that kind of top-down style ARPG where you progress through the game, fight mobs of enemies, and eventually you'll succumb to the amount of enemies you have to deal with. However, just like the previous game we talked about, which is Ravenbound, not Ravenswatch, you are going to have a lot of those roguelike elements to help you progress every time you die and start over from the beginning. Following that is Minecraft Legends. Minecraft Legends is coming out April 6th, and I know what a lot of you are going to say. I don't want to play Minecraft, that's a baby game, I haven't played that since I was in high school, or for all I know, maybe middle school, or maybe when you were 30. Either way, Minecraft is an old game, and it is widely looked at as a child's game. However, this game is trying to be a strategy-based game set in the Minecraft universe. You'll raid with a small army and team up with friends to fight in a PvP battle against other players. Your goal is to take down the opposing team's castle through siege, while also defending your own and continuing to build it up. This almost looks like it's going to have some kind of hybrid between an RTS, a Minecraft, and a MOBA kind of a feel, all built into one, at least from what we've seen so far. Only time will tell though if this is going to be a super competitive game with lots of elements of strategy, or if it's just going to be an overly simplistic game that strongly caters to that younger and newer audience to gaming. Either way, it's something you definitely need to keep your eye on. After that is something that we have covered quite a bit on this channel, and is something that we plan on covering a ton during its beta and early release launch, and that is Dark and Darker. Dark and Darker's next beta will be releasing on April 14th for you to enjoy, so make sure you go get your hands on it since it will be free. We're currently expecting to see things like the Bard class implemented into the game, and possibly even a lower level of dungeon for newer players to get introduced into the game. Either way, Dark and Darker is probably one of, if not the most popular game being made this year, at least for the PC players. If you haven't checked it out yet and you want to know just a little bit more about it before the beta actually comes out, or if you're watching this after the beta has already come out, then I highly recommend you go watch some of our videos, as we have quite a bit of content on Dark and Darker. Either way, this is a game you don't want to miss, whether it be the early access launch later this year or the beta coming this April. Next is Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 is a very long awaited sequel to the original Dead Island game and Dead Island Riptide. If you don't know what those are, then you're probably pretty young, and that's perfectly okay, or at least you're new to gaming. Just know that Dead Island was one of the best looter shooter games out there when it came out, and was rivaling things like Borderland. And on top of that, it had a zombie theme built into it. Dead Island 2 is gearing up to be a very brutal and gory RPG game that allows you to play as one of 6 different characters, all with unique abilities. Now, one of the things that is most exciting about Dead Island 2 is their unique procedurally generated gore system. Basically what this means is that every time you kill a zombie, it's going to look amazing. Whether the skin is melting off the zombie, or a hammer's being driven into their head, or you're just punching through their skull, whatever it may be, there is procedural generation with it, which means it's going to look a little bit different every time, and that's just not something we've seen before. If you haven't played the original, it's still a great game, and I highly recommend you give it a try, as it's probably pretty cheap these days. But either way, Dead Island 2 will be coming April 21st, and it is a game you absolutely need to play. And finally for our list is a game that I might be pronouncing a little bit wrong, and that is Roots of Pacha, which will be coming out on the 25th of April. It has just about everything you would expect to find in a game like this, such as relationship building, marriage, combat, farming simulation of course, and even fishing. For all intents and purposes, this game might as well just be, hey, we're gonna go ahead and make a Stardew Valley game with a prehistoric twist. One of the most important twists about it, however, is that it seems like you'll be able to use spirit animals in order to do different things throughout the world. We don't know exactly how this is going to be implemented into the game and exactly how it's going to work, but what we do know is that it's nice to have something that is helping to separate it from other games like it, such as Stardew Valley. They also seem to be putting a pretty big focus on the discovery part of the game, where you'll have to learn how to craft new things like an obsidian scythe. Nonetheless though, if you enjoyed Stardew Valley, then I definitely think you need to keep an eye on this game, as there's a good chance you'll enjoy this too. Now, if you guys want to support us and have your name at the end of most of our videos, then all you need to do is click the join button down below, where you can find more information about our membership program. If you still want to support us though, all you need to do is click that like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I do also want to give a big shout out to those members on the screen, which currently include Jonathan S, Caustic FPV, Gerald89, Jim Phillips, and AZ Blackbird. You all are huge supporters of us, and we couldn't do it without you. I'm Game Advisor, and I'll see you next time.